4+1 mixed squads are dead in the offseason. As soon as that purple tactics card disappears from your tactics card setup, it's time to go back to pure squads. I'm going to show you the proof today, and we're also going to tell an old real-world war story that is very related to this concept in this week's edition of WTF Fridays. This is Full Spectrum Last War, and I'm Crazy Horse 6. So I'm bringing you a 2-for-1 special today. This pair of battle reports came from a recent Desert Storm battlefield matchup. This person was nearly 10 million total hero power above me, but I noticed something really interesting when he attacked. Despite his main squad being nearly 2 million higher power, they could not get through my main squad. That allowed me to send out my second squad to test their defenses while their main was out, and despite my second squad being less than 2 million stronger than their second, I was able to burn through their second and third squads easily, eventually porting their base. This felt like a massive punch-up, so obviously I wanted to jump in and investigate. Let's start with the main squad. And I hate to put the punchline up front, but the obvious difference here is the attacker using the mixed missile squad with Lucy. And look, I love Lucy, arguably the best defensive hero in the game with a level 30 exclusive weapon. But since he's an air hero, he takes a lot of extra damage from my pure missiles. Additionally, without the 4+1 tactics card, the attacking side here loses 5% boost to attack, defense, and hit points across the board. We can see this clearly when we circle back to the battle video and watch the first couple heroes fall. Swift goes down first, with far less hit points and defense, but Lucy is right behind him. With the damage counter for my missiles, he just can't hang. Flipping to exclusive weapons, he's killing me in terms of upgrades past level 30. I've only got 73 additional levels and he's got 263, including unlocking Tesla's attack, defense, and hit point boosts, as well as Swift's hit point boost. It's slightly puzzling why he decided to drop 20 levels in Swift's defense boost versus put those in his attack and get to level 50, but regardless, he has a lot of extra power here. Gear is obviously a wash here. And of course, minimal notes on skills too. He's just finishing off the auto attacks for Adam and McGregor, which are definitely the lowest priority. And he's appropriately pushing Lucy's tactics before his other skills. But these are functionally identical. Overall, he leads most categories here. I have a slight advantage in units and Wall of Honor, and we'll investigate those a little bit later. But I think overall, he looks a lot stronger on paper here. His drone has 11 extra levels and 3 extra chip stars. While our components look equal, here's an important nuance. Remember that you unlock a power boost on each component for every 20%, so his fuel cell and missile do have a little more of an advantage than is obvious at first glance here. On paper, Overlord is identical. I have 1 extra level in the bond rating and a little more invested in training certificates. He's actually done a better job on skills. It looks like he's purchased or prioritized Overlord skill medals more than me here. And y'all know at this point, my favorite category here is research. And this is where I do want to point out that my suspicion is that there's a combination of factors that hurt him here. I still believe that the primary factor is using a 4+1 setup with an aircraft hero mixed in against a pure missile squad. But these research priorities didn't help and could have exacerbated that decision. The things that stick out the most here are siege to seas, defense fortifications, and special forces are all overdeveloped. But that's not going to hurt him other than it's a misallocation of valor away from research that contributes towards real power. We've both mastered a main squad mastery, and he's got the edge on me in tactical weapon. What really matters here is a difference in aircraft mastery. Had aircraft mastery been at 80% to unlock tactical weapon versus splitting the effort with tanks mastery, Lucy might not have been such a liability here and likely would have had more damage reduction, a march size increase, and additional boosts. And if we skip ahead to the units, this is why my march size is bigger here. The aircraft hero march sizes are lower because of the difference in mastery levels and gives me an advantage in terms of units and march size. Wall of Honor is mostly a wash. He's got the advantage on decorations, and I consider tactics cards to be mostly a wash here, as he has offensive boosts while I have defensive boosts, although my levels are slightly higher overall. It was a slight advantage over me in terms of cosmetics. So that's a main squad matchup. The result here is nearly 800 fewer soldiers lost. This battle wasn't really that close. If the margin was only a couple hundred soldiers, I'd say it could probably go either way, and the difference could have been a lucky crit hit or a taunt. But I have multiple battle reports that look just like this one. It's about an 800 soldier difference across the board. So before we go on, let's do a quick story time. This is truly a case study in focus. For the first half of one of my deployments to Iraq, I was an assistant operations officer for a cavalry squadron. One of our main enduring missions was protecting our forward operating base from rocket attacks, which had become a significant nuisance in the year prior to us assuming responsibility for that area of operations and persisted for the first couple of months of our deployment. I was responsible for the planning and synchronization of the counter indirect fire operations and was constantly under pressure from our higher headquarters, who was unfortunately located on the same base, to put more combat power around the base to stop the rockets. And here's the problem. The range of a 107mm Katyusha rocket is roughly 5 miles. That created an area of approximately 75 square miles to cover with air and ground assets to try to spot insurgents setting up for rocket attacks. Our squadron could generate enough combat power to cover approximately 12 square miles at any given time, and only for 8 to 12 hours at a time. And that left us with no combat power to do any of the other missions we were actually there to do. I could split the combat power into smaller elements and cover about 24 square miles. Regardless, I could cover at most about 1/3 of the area we needed to cover for about 1/3 of the time. Or I could cover 1/6 of the area for 2/3 of the time, or about 1/10 of the area around the clock. You get the idea. I was constantly pushing back against our higher headquarters, who wanted 24/7 coverage across a maximum possible area. But this ignored when rockets were most likely to be fired and where they were most likely to be fired from. I frequently used the quote, "If I try to defend everything, I end up defending nothing." So I did it my way, focusing our combat power during the highest risk times and often having no patrols out except for a quick reaction force during the lowest risk times. I also concentrated our patrols in areas that, through geographical conditions, had the highest risk of being selected by insurgents as a launch site and largely ignored areas that were very unlikely to host an attack. We had nearly an 80% reduction in the number of rocket attacks after 60 days. And the ones that were launched were fired hastily during times of day they didn't want to fire from, or were fired from areas where they didn't have a good calculated firing solution. The result is that of the ones that were still fired, they were far less accurate, often not even hitting our base. We didn't achieve this with more resources. We achieved it by focusing the resources we had in areas and times where they were the most effective. So bringing it back to the topic at hand today, think about it this way. We're both big boys here. We're both gold chairs that our alliances count on to carry the battles in our favor. We've both gotten a lot of skill medals, ores, blueprints, exclusive weapons shards, you name it, either through grinding, through success in arenas and events, and through spending. My take here? The resources I do have are more concentrated and better utilized, whereas this person has accumulated the same, arguably more resources, but has spread them too thin. Let's take a look at part 2 to further illustrate this. So that gets us to the second battle report. Because this is the matchup I get when I send my second squad against his base while his main is attacking mine. For context here, my pure air squad is 71.3 million. His mixed air squad is 69.5 million. This is a slight advantage here to me, but his mixed tank squad behind it is 63.6 million. I would not expect my air squad, with less than 2 million power advantage over his second, to get through both squads so easily. So again, let's dig in and investigate what's going on here. Not to repeatedly put the punchline up front, but the most obvious difference here in the lineup is that, again, it's the mixed lineup with Murphy replacing Lucy. Again, this means my pure air gets the additional counter against Murphy, in addition to having an extra 5% for attack, defense, and hit points. I'm going to put a second and third squad side by side here so we can do a faster comparison. On the third squad, another interesting choice here is that he's using Fiona instead of Stetman. I think I know why, but again, this is hurting his attack, defense, and hit points by 5% compared to mine. Admittedly, I do have a large advantage here in the exclusive weapons, and those extra level 30 exclusive weapon skills that are unlocked help here. And here's why I suspect he has Fiona instead of Stepman, who's sitting on his bench or in his gathering squad. He has Fiona at level 30, but probably doesn't have Stepman at the same level. I really wish I could have seen what his pure missile squad did against my missiles during this fight. I suspect he would have beaten me. Gear is measurably weaker on both the second and third squads, and now y'all know why I prioritize ore and maximizing blueprints so much. You can check out those videos in the cards in the corner. To be honest, I'm puzzled how he has almost 10 million more total hero power when I look at this lineup. My third squad has much better gear than his, and as you can see from my second squad, it is completely upgraded. The only thing I'm waiting on for the remaining items here are mythic blueprints. Even the 4-star gear in my second squad is upgraded all the way. So given his second squad is not upgraded to the same extent, it is slightly puzzling to see some gear on the third squad here that has taken a decent amount of ore and blueprints to upgrade. Those probably would have been better invested in the second squad first. I also suspect, but can't confirm, since I never saw his gathering squad in battle, that not only does he have gold gear on them, I suspect he has upgraded all their gear to level 40, which has created an artificial inflation in his total hero power. Again, that's a lot of ore that could have been spent on fighting squads versus paper power. Also, questionable decision to max skills on some of his third squad heroes before he's taking care of his second squad. It's weird to see Marshall and Scarlet maxed here before Morrison's tactics or even Fiona's skills, assuming she would normally be with the main squad. Finally, just wanted to throw this on here just to show the impact of the differences in our air mastery levels and how that translates to march size disparity for our second squads. Part of this disparity is driven by Murphy. Part is driven by me having a 15% advantage in aircraft mastery. So that's my 2-for-1 recap. Maybe we'll even call it a 3-to-1 if you want to get technical. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please hit the like button. If you don't know, I drop a battle report analysis video every Friday, so you can take a look and see if there's anything you need to fix before you roll into battle on Buster Day. The best way to make sure you're not missing these videos, as well as other helpful analysis and breakdown of events, in-season mechanics, upgrade and research priorities, or full battle videos, is to subscribe and enable notifications. I look forward to seeing you on the battlefield. Crazy Horse 6 out.
Hell yeah!
And heads up, don't just make a bunch of content. Like, actually go and do something.
Be sure to like and subscribe, guys.